Beyond the Gates spoilers for Monday, November 17th suggest that Leslie Thomas will bring the drama to Winterfest, while Bill Hamilton will give Jacob Hawthorne a warning. From the sounds of it, Jacob will tell Bill about Hayley Hamilton's birth control pills that the pharmacy sent a text alert for, something Naomi Hawthorne noticed during the Friday, November 14th episode, when the foursome did a double date. Still, Hayley was clever to tell Bill that she's on the pill to control her hormones right after the incident. She lied to her husband that the pills would help regulate her system so that they could successfully get pregnant once again. It looks like Bill will fluff off Jacob's intel and advise him to focus on his own marriage and stay out of his, which seems to be on shaky ground, something Bill's not wrong about. Speaking of Hayley, she'll give Catherine "Cat" Richardson some advice during the Monday, November 17th episode. Kat's not only feuding with her sister Eva Thomas, but also having problems with Martin Richardson. In many ways, Kat's the pariah of the Richardson family, so it makes sense that she'd turn to the pariah of Fairmont Crest for a little guidance. Meanwhile, another town outcast, Leslie, will stir the pot. Beyond the Gates spoilers indicate that her helping organize Winterfest will bubble up some emotions from an old friend. It looks like Mona Wilson will have a major problem with Leslie's involvement, which makes sense considering her loyalty to Nicole Dupree and Laura Peterson. Mona can't get past what Leslie did to Nicole. Despite Leslie's relentless pursuit of mending fences, will Mona ever forgive her friend? Only time will tell. Finally, some feel-good BTG spoilers during the November 17th show, as Danny Dupree and Andre Richardson make a major investment in their future. So, what will the two purchase? They are honeymooning in Los Angeles, so will Danny and Andre score a beachfront property? Or is there more to this? Beyond the Gates spoilers for Monday's episode tease drama, romance, conflict, and a little campiness, so viewers won't want to miss the show as a new week kicks off in Fairmont Crest. At last, Vernon'S big secret is about to come out, as teased in the latest Beyond the Gates promo, even though we all pretty much have guessed what it is. Plus, Kat says what might be the most awful words she's uttered to Eva so far, and Hayley's big plans for Bill may go up in smoke. But hey, at least Danny and Andre are happy, right? After calling off their honeymoon trip to LA, and then calling it back on, Danny and Andre finally get a chance to relax. We see them in bed sharing a champagne toast, and Andre says, "To my wife, I love you." She responds, "I love you too." Well, that can only mean one thing. Trouble is headed their way. After another secret meeting with Sharon, Vernon and Anita go out to the country club for a meal, where she asks if he's going to tell her what this secret is, or if she has to start guessing. She warns her husband that he knows she has a vivid imagination, and he jokes, "Not as vivid as Leslie's." Will Vernon let the cat out of the bag? Has he been taking singing lessons to surprise Anita at Winterfest? A crying Leslie tells Ted she doesn't know where else to turn. Wait, haven't we heard this before? Ted snarks back, "I think you walk around." After Kat went on a tirade against her father and Eva's budding relationship, with Eva calling Ted Dad, even Thomas told his girlfriend that Eva had a right to a relationship with Ted. Ouch! No wonder Kat's digging lower than low when she spits at Eva. "I wish your mother had gotten rid of you, because we'd all be living our best lives if you'd never been born." You know Eva's going to be itching to retaliate. And finally, as Hayley drops a small dose of poison in Bill's drink and celebrates a $10 million payout for herself, she may be about to be caught celebrating her husband's death a bit prematurely. Beyond the Gates spoilers imply the CBS soap just dropped its promo for the week of November 17 to 21, and fans can brace for some bombshells up ahead. What's set to unravel? In Fairmont Crest over the next 5 days? Read more below. The Beyond the Gates promo for next week opens with Danny Dupree and Andre Richardson enjoying a glass of champagne in a hotel room. The two are on their honeymoon in Los Angeles, wearing fluffy white robes with champagne while in bed. Andre toasts to his wife and says, "I love you." As Danny replies, "I love you too." They clink glasses in peaceful bliss. Over at the country club, Anita Dupree is sharing a meal with her hubby, Vernon Dupree, as she asks, "So are you going to tell me what this little secret is, or do I have to start guessing? You know how vivid my imagination is." Vernon replies, "Well, not as vivid as Leslie's." It sounds like Leslie may see Vernon with Sharon Winger and rat him out, but will Anita believe her? Meanwhile, Leslie is shown next, in Ted Richardson's office, looking emotional. She tells her ex she has nowhere else to turn. Ted replies, "I think you walk around dropping matches and then act surprised when fire starts." As the BTG Weekly promo rolls on, a clip between Eva Thomas and Catherine Kat Richardson unravels. The two are at Uptown, at a table, as Kat says, that she wishes Leslie had gotten rid of Eva, as they'd all be living their best lives if Eva had never been born. Yikes! Talk about harsh. It looks like the rivalry between these two sisters is far from over. As the preview wraps up, the final scene is of Hayley Hamilton placing more poison in her husband's drink. Hayley is all giddy as she exclaims, "One small dose for Bill. One giant leap toward a $10 million payout for Hayley." She does a little dance as Naomi Hawthorne enters the room, looking shocked, yet justified. Will Naomi see and hear exactly what Hayley said and did, or is this a red herring event? Fans will have to tune in to find out. Coming up next week on Beyond the Gates, Danny and Andre's honeymoon, Anita and Vernon discuss Vernon's secret, and Kat crosses the line with Eva. Danny and Andre have already forgotten about the Los Angeles photo shoot. They are all about living their best lives on their honeymoon, where they are all decked out in luxury robes and toasting each other. "To my wife, I love you," Andre states. "I love you too." Anita and Vernon are also spending quality time together, but it's clear Anita knows something is up with her husband. He has a secret, and she wants the details. "So, are you going to tell me what this little secret is, or do I have to start guessing? And you know how vivid my imagination is." The video preview cuts to Leslie. The newly wealthy woman pops in on Ted for a little sympathy from a friend. "I don't know where else to turn," she insists. "I think you walk around dropping matches and act surprised when fire starts," he accused, giving Leslie a dose of tough love. This could be because Leslie talked her way onto Anita's Winterfest planning committee. Monday's daily teasers suggest that Leslie's involvement in Winterfest may stir up emotions with some old friends. So, turning to Ted is all about him potentially soothing at her bruised ego. Is that what he ultimately ends up doing? Meanwhile, Kat and Eva's rivalry remains vicious. And in the promo, it's Kat who says some things that she probably won't take back, but she really needs to. Wishing someone had never been born? This is brutal, even for her. At this point, Kat and Eva just need to stay away from each other. They are like oil and water, and no matter what anyone in the family wants, these two are unlikely to see eye to eye anytime soon. One small dose for Bill. One giant leap toward a $10 million payout for Hayley. Hayley may be laughing now, but Naomi walks in on her when she's right in the middle of enacting her plan to slowly poison Bill so she can collect the big payoff from the life insurance company. What does Naomi hear? Enough to be suspicious of her so-called stepmom? She has been highly suspicious of her former bestie before. Has Naomi caught Hayley in the act? Here are your Beyond the Gates spoilers for next week. Here's a look ahead at the episodes we'll see from Monday, November 17th to Friday, November 21st, 2005. Hayley is caught, and Kat goes low. Next week, we start with a scene in a hotel bedroom. Danny and Andre have finally made it to their honeymoon, and the couple is so in love. Andre makes a toast to his wife, telling her that he loves her, and Danny tells him right back that she loves him too. Smiling, they clink glasses in celebration. Vernon and Anita are at the Fairmont Crest Country Club for a meal. When Anita asks Vernon if he's going to divulge his secret, or if he's going to make him guess, Anita reminds Vernon how vivid her imagination can be, to which Vernon replies, "Not as much as Leslie's." More factual words have not been spoken, and Vernon has more than just one secret to hide, it appears. Leslie appears in Ted's office at the hospital, telling him that she had nowhere else to turn. Looking desperate is a ploy Leslie often uses, and Ted has his suspicions. Ted tells Leslie that he thinks she just walks around dropping matches and acts surprised when a fire starts. What a great line and so true. What is this next plot or scheme, and which of the Duprees is going to fall afoul of it this time? The teasers say Leslie is going to extort another Dupree. In one of the more horrid sets of dialogue thus far, we have Kat and Eva, the warring sisters at Uptown. Kat is on a rant and tells Eva that she wishes that her mom had gotten rid of her, and they all would be living their best lives if she had never been born. Ouch! That's got to be the most hurtful thing from Kat's mouth, ever. This is going to set things off for sure. Will we ever see a cat fight here? See what I did? Back at the offices of Bill Hamilton-esque. Hayley is about to drop some more of her poison into Bill's cup, and as she does this, she starts singing, "One small drop for Bill and one giant leap closer to a $10 million payout for Hayley." Just as she finishes her little song and dance, Naomi walks into the office. This should be good. What will Naomi have overheard, if anything? Hopefully, all of it. If you've been watching Beyond the Gates, you already know things around Hayley Hamilton have been getting messier by the day. And now Marquita Goings is finally talking about when she realized her character wasn't just a sweet wife, but someone hiding something much darker. The way she found out might surprise you. Before the big reveal even aired, viewers could already feel that something was off with Hayley, especially in her scenes with Danny Dupress. But funny enough, Marquita said she joined the show with zero idea that Hayley had anything sinister going on. She remembered filming an early argument with Carla Mosley's Danny, where she tried to make Hayley snap a little, but the producer stopped her and told her to keep playing Hayley the same gentle way she had been. Naturally, she asked them why. Marquita said she wanted to understand why Hayley wouldn't react differently. That's when the producers hinted that her character would have a shift later on. She didn't know what that meant at the time, but it was the first moment she realized something was brewing behind the scenes. About a month before shooting the major episodes, producer Julie Hannon Carruthers called her in for a proper talk. Marquita said Julie laid out more of what was coming, which helped her understand that Hayley wasn't exactly who she appeared to be. Even after that conversation, Marquita still didn't know the full truth. She said she only understood the real scope of Hayley's actions when she finally read the scripts, and her reaction was basically, "Oh, wow." That's when she discovered that Hayley had been poisoning her husband Bill as part of a plan to get his fortune. She said the dialogue spelled out everything she hadn't realized before, and it suddenly made all of those earlier producer notes make perfect sense. For viewers, the reveal felt huge, but hearing Marquita talk about it makes it even clearer that the twist was kept tightly under wraps until the very last moment. Marquita didn't spill anything about where Hayley goes from here, and honestly, that just makes us all more curious. She said that she and the producers talked about the present storyline and some future developments, but there's still a lot of mystery around what's coming. She made it clear she doesn't want to give away too much, because even a small hint could spoil something big. But she did say the communication behind the scenes has been very open, which tells us the writers definitely have a long game planned for Hayley. Stay tuned to Soap Opera Daily for all the latest Beyond the Gates twists and updates. There was once the promise of prestige. Behind the Gates strutted onto the screen with an impressive pedigree, a powerful black family, high society drama, and the glossy allure of modern soap revival. Viewers expected Succession meets The Gilded Age, polished with melanin and money. What they got instead is a series so confused about its own tone that it manages to make Days of Our Lives look like Shakespearean tragedy. At the center of this bedazzled catastrophe stand the Duprees, a dynasty of supposed power players who seem to have misplaced their bite. The show boasts of influence and privilege, yet the characters spend most of their time being verbally harassed by a woman named Leslie, whose chief occupation is breaking into other people's houses to insult them. The Duprees, meanwhile, respond with the collective energy of a damp sponge. Audiences were promised ruthlessness. They got reconciliation therapy. Anita is marketed as the grande dame of Fairmont Crest, an elegant matriarch with steel beneath her silk. Instead, she has evolved into the series' chief disappointment. She reminds everyone that she's from the Chicago projects, yet when faced with the venomous Leslie, she transforms into a polite hostage. The woman who should command respect merely stands there, assaulted by taunts and logic so fragile it should come with a warning label. Fans have pleaded for Anita to rediscover her roots. Perhaps phone a cousin or two from Chicago to handle business the way television used to handle villains. Instead, she wrings her hands in a mansion that apparently has no locks, no staff loyalty, and no sense of urgency. If refined restraint was meant to be her weapon, the writers have dulled it beyond repair. The show's defenders argue that Anita's gentility represents the educated, respectability-minded black elite. But television is not a church luncheon. This is supposed to be entertainment, and nothing kills momentum faster than moral moderation masquerading as good writing. Leslie began as the kind of villain soap operas dream of. Unhinged, glamorous, perfectly detestable. A schemer with bite, she was the chaos engine keeping the story alive. But the writers, in their infinite misjudgment, mistook overexposure for character development. Leslie now spends entire episodes terrorizing people with no consequence, her every sin rewarded by trust funds and unearned redemption arcs. Even her daughter, Eva, a once sympathetic pawn in her mother's games, has devolved into a glassy-eyed cheerleader, too brainwashed to notice that she's being used as emotional collateral. The audience has grown numb to Leslie's antics. What was once captivating malice has curdled into exhausting nonsense. Viewers have begun to fast-forward through her scenes entirely, a fate that marks the death knell for any soap antagonist. A good villain should provoke rage and admiration in equal measure. Leslie provokes only sighs. If one were to catalog the show's most grating characters, Nicole would be inscribed in gold leaf. Her greatest crime is not malice, but mediocrity, a constant state of wounded indignation wrapped in self-importance. Every plotline involving her somehow spirals into emotional chaos entirely of her own making. Her biggest recurring trigger, as apologists call it, is being left out of secrets. She has perfected the art of confusing confidentiality with betrayal. The result is a woman who demands access to every whispered conversation, then collapses into righteous fury when consequences arise. Nicole doesn't grow, she festers. And while one could argue that stagnation is a staple of soap writing, she manages to make even that feel like a laborious chore. The show's other characters, for reasons only the writers could explain, continue to tolerate her presence, as if her shrill energy is some kind of social glue holding the Duprees together. Martin's so-called big secret, teased for months and finally revealed with the impact of a damp firecracker, epitomizes everything wrong with the show's pacing. The narrative treats his revelation as world-shattering, only for the aftermath to feel like an extended group therapy session. Martin's family, rather than closing ranks or retaliating, simply dissolve into tearful monologues and moral hand-wringing. In the golden age of soap villains, this kind of secret would have ignited wars, ruined marriages, and maybe burned down a vineyard or two. Here, it merely inspires Nicole to throw a tantrum and Anita to apologize to a chandelier. The show wants gravitas, but refuses to embrace consequence. For all the whispered scandals, no one ever actually pays for anything. It's a morality play without moral stakes. Fairmont Crest, the Dupree estate, may be the most unsecured mansion in television history. Every villain, ex-lover, and deranged associate walks in uninvited. Apparently, doors are optional in this universe. Leslie and Eva treat other people's homes like public parks, striding in to deliver monologues before anyone has the decency to call security. In any realistic portrayal of wealth, such breaches would be met with legal threats, bodyguards, or at least a sternly worded letter. Instead, the Duprees respond with nervous politeness and light disapproval. The show's security situation has become a running joke, comparable only to the perpetually unlocked train car on The Young and the Restless. At this point, even Downton Abbey's Carson would refuse employment, not out of loyalty, but sheer embarrassment. A particularly astute theory circulating among disillusioned viewers is that the show's partnership with the NAACP has defanged its storytelling. The argument goes like this. In an effort to maintain a polished, respectable image of Black success, the writers have neutered the Duprees into moral statues. While every other family on the show is allowed to scheme, cheat, and manipulate, the Duprees are confined to civility. In the process, the show has turned its most compelling figures into parodies of propriety. The so-called talented 10th treatment, a fixation on moral optics over messy humanity, has transformed what should be a dynamic family saga into a televised etiquette class. Respectability may be admirable in life. In fiction, it is fatal. No one tunes in to watch self-restraint. The greats of television, Bertha Russell, Alexis Carrington, Cookie Lyon, built empires through audacity, not apology. If Behind the Gates were half as brave as its marketing, Leslie would be groveling in exile by now, not throwing dinner parties with other people's silverware. The problem is not just tone, but timidity. Whenever the story edges toward something bold, a kidnapping, a betrayal, a family war, the writers recoil. When Chelsea was kidnapped, fans prepared for a grand reckoning. Vernon'S political connections, Bill's wrath, some long-awaited show of Dupree power. Instead, the plot deflated like a balloon at a corporate picnic. Even the suggestion of criminal intrigue is treated as gauche. The villains are outrageous, the heroes allergic to reaction. For a show about wealth, power, and deceit, the characters behave as though revenge were beneath their tax bracket. The irony is that viewers are begging for chaos. They want scheming, seduction, a slap or two for good measure. Instead, they are given discourse about ethics and lessons in forgiveness. This is not what anyone signed up for. Adding insult to injury, the supporting cast, particularly the white characters, now enjoy the narrative richness once promised to the Duprees. Vanessa, Joey, and Derek have inherited the meaty storylines, control, intrigue, authority. Meanwhile, Naomi and Jacob have been demoted to token best friends, existing only to advise or react. The optics are appalling. A show pitched as a landmark for Black representation has accidentally written its Black leads into the background of their own narrative. When fans observe that Joey runs everything in Fairmont Crest, it's not admiration, it's disbelief. The supposed titans of the series have become their own supporting cast. Ultimately, the show's downfall rests on writing that mistakes quantity for complexity. Dialogue stretches into monologues, conflict resolves itself without confrontation, and emotional stakes dissolve under moral lectures. The tone vacillates between soap opera melodrama and after-school special, never committing to either. Even when viewers attempt generosity, suggesting storylines that might save the series, Vernon as a secret mob boss, Anita as a criminal mastermind, Leslie's husband returning from the dead, it underscores the desperation. The audience is writing better television than the writers themselves. One can almost sense the fatigue behind the scripts. The pacing is uneven, the plotting incoherent, and the tone self-conscious. It's as if the writers are afraid of their own premise, terrified that showing powerful Black people acting like human beings, messy, ambitious, flawed, would be somehow impolite. But soap operas are not moral instruction manuals. They are escapism with lipstick. Behind the Gates seems to have forgotten that its job is not to uplift, but to entertain. The ultimate humiliation for any showrunner is when the audience starts producing superior scripts in the comments section. Behind the Gates has reached that tragic milestone. Viewers, having lost faith in the creative team's ability to construct a plot with actual stakes, have begun drafting their own, elaborate, scandalous, and infinitely more entertaining. And the worst part? Every fan-generated storyline reads like the show that should have existed from the start. Among the more compelling ideas is the notion of Vernon Dupree as a mob boss by night, secretly controlling Armstrong Enterprises while maintaining his polished public persona as a retired senator. It's a perfect premise, duplicity, moral conflict, and the whiff of danger that makes high society drama so intoxicating. Naturally, the writers ignored it. Instead, Vernon continues to meander through scenes dispensing moral wisdom no one asked for, as though the audience tuned in for a sermon. Then there's the inspired idea of Anita orchestrating Hayley's arrival into Bill and Danny's marriage, a Machiavellian twist that would have restored Anita's long-lost cunning. It would make her the grand manipulator she was always meant to be, the woman who moves chess pieces while others play checkers. Instead, Anita remains stuck in endless conversations about doing the right thing, a phrase that has become the death rattle of this show's creativity. And who could forget the imagined revelation that Barbara, Anita's old friend, didn't die by suicide, but was accidentally killed by Anita herself in a moment of trauma, later covered up by the family's trusted ally, Dante Green? It's Shakespearean, Greek, operatic, which means, of course, the writers will never touch it. A fan favorite among the speculative plots involves Leslie's supposedly dead husband, Alan, returning from the grave, not because of some grand conspiracy, but because he simply grew tired of her incessant scheming. It's the kind of deliciously absurd twist that soap operas thrive on, the idea that even death couldn't outlast her annoyance. In the imagined version, Alan resurfaces once Leslie inherits a fortune, ready to reclaim what's his. It's poetic justice and comic relief rolled into one. But again, such brilliance would require the show's writers to possess a sense of irony, a resource apparently rarer than competent security staff at the Dupree estate. Speaking of security, one of the show's most consistent unintentional jokes remains the complete absence of boundaries. The residents of Fairmont Crest seem allergic to knocking. Villains and allies alike glide into living rooms uninvited, usually to drop a dramatic revelation or deliver an unsolicited insult. The effect is less high drama and more small-town chaos with designer wallpaper. It's as though every property in this universe exists under a permanent open house policy. Even Downton Abbey had better access control, and that show was set in 1885. Fans, ever resourceful, have embraced the absurdity. One witty observer suggested the Duprees call Downton Abbey because Carson wouldn't even let Leslie down the driveway. Another imagined a crossover where the Quartermaine Mansion from General Hospital and the Dupree estate compete for least secure property in American television. The absurdity would be forgivable if it served dramatic purpose, but it doesn't. It merely exposes the writer's laziness. Every pop-in is a shortcut for confrontation, an excuse to stage drama without earning it. At the root of all this narrative, impotence lies a single damning concept: respectability politics. In their attempt to present an image of dignified black excellence, the creators have rendered their protagonists inert. They can't scheme, they can't slap, they can't even lie convincingly. They are museum exhibits of virtue, surrounded by devils who dance freely. Viewers have noticed. One theory attributes this sanitized storytelling to the NAACP's involvement in production, the belief being that the organization's participation discourages the portrayal of morally ambiguous black elites. Whether or not that's true, the results speak for themselves. A supposedly powerful family that lectures about ethics while being repeatedly humiliated by a suburban sociopath in a wig. If realism were the goal, one might forgive the restraint. But realism has no place in this gilded fantasy world. Soap operas demand spectacle, not subtlety. The Duprees are so intent on preserving their image that they've become parodies of poise, polished mannequins in a world that should be clawing and bleeding with ambition. While the Duprees drown in self-righteousness, their supporting cast has seized control of the narrative. Joey, the calculating businessman who was once a peripheral schemer, now commands more power and screen time than the supposed leads. Vanessa, Derek, and even Naomi have inherited the show's substance, leaving the central family adrift in irrelevance. It's an almost tragic inversion of the show's original premise, a drama built to celebrate a powerful black dynasty, now dominated by everyone except them. The Duprees have become background noise in their own opera. Naomi, once poised for depth, has been reduced to the thankless role of black best friend, orbiting other people's plots like a loyal moon. Jacob, The detective with potential for complexity has devolved into an exposition device, wandering from scene to scene, asking rhetorical questions the audience already knows the answers to. Meanwhile, the white characters bask in narrative luxury, affairs, betrayals, and power moves that the Duprees can only discuss in theory. As one viewer put it with cutting precision, the Newmans would never. Desperation breeds creativity, and the Behind the Gates fandom has responded with admirable chaos. Among the proposed fixes are enough subplots to fuel a dozen seasons, most of them far superior to what's actually on screen. Fans want Anita moonlighting as a crime boss. They want Joey revealed as Martin's estranged son, a revelation that could unravel the show's entire power structure. They want Chelsea seduced by Allison in a scandalous double life, complete with secret siblings, infidelity, and moral rot. They even want a baby swap twist, the oldest trope in the soap playbook, where Kat and Eva's parentage is upended in a storm of betrayal and melodrama. Ridiculous? Certainly. But that's precisely the point. A soap that refuses to embrace the ridiculous is no soap at all. The fans' imaginary plots are not just entertainment, they're protest art. Every suggested storyline, from fake deaths to secret twins, screams the same plea. Make this show alive again. Instead, the show continues its slow march into narrative entropy. No one evolves, no one suffers lasting consequences, and no one seems capable of strategic thought. Characters repeat cycles of petty outrage and hollow reconciliation, mistaking emotional noise for character development. Even moments that flirt with intrigue, like Martin's campaign being haunted by his secret past, are handled with the urgency of a committee meeting. The writers seem allergic to escalation. They introduce potential scandals only to neuter them within an episode or two, afraid that true messiness might stain the Dupree family's image. The result is a paradox, a show that markets itself on opulence and moral danger, but refuses to get its hands dirty. It's not that the actors lack talent. In fact, several deliver performances too good for the material. The problem is a creative direction that confuses message with meaning. The writers want to say something about class, race, and perception, but their vehicle for doing so is a soap opera, a genre that thrives on exaggeration. By sterilizing the story for respectability, they've produced a moral museum piece instead of a living drama. Their fixation on image control mirrors the Duprees themselves, beautiful, poised, and utterly inert. It's a strange irony, a show obsessed with appearances that has forgotten how to perform. What the series desperately needs is not another gala or monologue about legacy. It needs chaos. It needs betrayal so sharp it draws blood. It needs the kind of audacious storytelling that once defined the genre, where secret affairs implode dynasties, where loyalty and vengeance share the same champagne glass. Instead, it offers scenes of wealthy people discussing their feelings like they're in group therapy, the dramatic equivalent of dry toast. Even the attempts at scandal lack conviction. Poison plots fizzle,